Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. Uh,
Fantastic.
I'm I'm Alice Bugwa. I'm in the accounting profession. I've been in this
Mhm.
profession for the last 19 years.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so
Mm,
much. Thank you so
yeah.
much, and it's good to have you in this webinar. I hope that we can be able to learn a thing or two, and we can also learn from you because 19 years, I believe that is such a wealth of wisdom and experience, and you can tell us maybe as we proceed on, maybe how you think about personal finance and how we can be able to be co-partners as we progress on this webinar. Asante sana, Alice. You're in the right place.
Okay, thank you.
Amazing. I can see also Ken too has been able to chat. He says, hello, been in the engineering manufacturing sector for 6 years. Ai, nakwambia leo. Today we are having the brilliant minds in this webinar. Asante sana, Ken. It's good to have you here on board. James Nganga, also if you can unmute your mic, feel free. But if you are a bit, oh yes, James, karibu sana.
Yes, thank you. Yes, my
Awesome,
name is
awesome.
James
Yes.
Nganga. I
Mm-hmm,
have a company called JS Farms. I'm in the agribusiness
mm-hmm,
space,
mm-hmm.
and my experience is 4 years. Yes.
Awesome. 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 Thank you, Sana James. I can see, as you said, you're in the agri business, and that is good to know. You can probably just tell us venye saizi mvua inanyesha, uko na nini na nini. You can tell us in the chat section. And guys, I believe we are here to eat healthy and here to eat organic. Uko na nini na nini so that people may know as well.
And now I'm focusing on production of animal feeds na pia poultry. So Kenya
Uh-huh.
tuko nayo ni organic farm from
Mm-hmm.
the poultry waste because we realize waste is can be an issue.
For sure.
So we have a farm that predominantly we are using the waste from the chicken. It's very green,
Uh-huh.
very
Uh-huh.
lively. The rains.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's what we have in store.
Awesome. Awesome.
Kuku
Wow.
na mboga.
Now, kuku na mboga. Thank you so much, James. Thank you so much for that brief introduction. And we thank you so much for giving us this opportunity for us to just be able to continue with this. And also, as well, we appreciate your efforts in sustainable farming. And as always, we're here also to talk about sustainable finances. And we dive a bit more on personal finances. So, thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. We're going to be dividing this session into two. Sorry, apologies, nilianza kujiintroduce. Let me now introduce myself. My name is Paul Edward Mwangi. I am a financial trainer at Mwalimu Biashara, and I feel very honored to be here in your midst. I've been here for now 1.5 years as a financial trainer, and I was also in the FMCG sector for around 5 years. So that gives me a total of what, 6.5 years? And I'm happy to be here. I can see we have everyone in this capacity, and I would like us to make this session as interactive as we can. And as we said, personal finance is a journey, and each and every person tukimpatia an opportunity aongee, they can tell us something about personal finance. So quickly, allow me to just share my screen. As I said, we're going to be having two sessions. One, I'll be doing the introductory part of it. And then in the second part of it, we're going to be having our financial trainer who has been in the industry for more than 20 years, a wealth of experience. Anaweza kaa chini akituambia story, tunaweza fikiria ni kama ni video, ni kama ni drama, but he can be able to take us in the second part of this, and I believe that you're going to be having an amazing time. Okay, so allow me, if you can see my screen, kindly you can give me the confirmation on the chat section, and as always, feel free if you have something to ask, if you have a personal question, kindly feel free to be able to just put it in the chat section so that we may also go back to it and continue with the same. And then also, if you have any questions as you continue with this, feel free to just unmute your mic, tell us your thoughts about it, and we can be able to share. As always, we like this session to be interactive. We don't have all the answers. We believe that each and every person has an answer, and we'd like it to be as open and as exciting as we can. Okay, so allow me to start. So, who is Mwalimu Biashara? And I know for some of us, when we got that call that we have a personal financial webinar and it's about this and about this, you're like, okay, so let me go and join and see what these guys are all about. So Mwalimu Biashara is here to help you to do three things in regards to finances. We are here to help you to make money, to grow money, and to protect your money. Those are the three key areas that Mwalimu Biashara focuses on. And we can do it in an individual perspective where we focus heavily on personal finance coaching. And then you can also focus on enterprises. Nimesikia kuna watu wako na the agribusiness. There are people who are here in the engineering sector. There are people who are in the accounting sector. There are people here in different sectors. So how can we be able to give you the necessary tools and skills, not only to scale up your business life, but also to scale up your personal financial life. So that is who Mwalimu Biashara is all about. And so those are the focus areas that you can see right there on my screen. We do business planning, strategy formulation and execution, financial modeling, personal finance coaching, and that's why we're here on this particular webinar today. Human resource management and development, operation efficiency. Ideally, we're able to do trainings for other groups as well. And I think our financial trainer will be touching base on this as we proceed on with this webinar. Where is Mwalimu Biashara located? If you'd like to visit our offices, we are located in a building called CMS Africa, which is along Chania Road in Kilimani. So when you come there, you're going to find us that we're in an umbrella-like kind of an organization. Why? It's because in that organization, at that umbrella, we are under the umbrella called the Sandbox Village. And ideally, the reason as to why we're called the Sandbox Village, it's because we are a group of different experts who've been able to come together to offer value not only to individuals, but to enterprises and to businesses as well. Okay, so with that done, now we go to the second part of it. We ask ourselves, now that you are able to register for this webinar, what are the expectations? What are you going to be expecting as we proceed on with this webinar? And I can tell you for a fact that the decision that is made to join this webinar is going to be one of the best decisions. When you look back, you'll say, I think I made the right decision going for that personal financial and investment webinar organized by Mwalimu Biashara. And this is why. First off, we are going to be looking at the impact of the environment on your money. Ile pesa iko kwa mfuko yako, how does the environment affect it? We have so many things that are coming up. We have things like the tariffs that we've been seeing being spoken all around the news. We have like the finance bill coming up. What does all that thing that we focus on the environment, how does that affect your money? Today, we're going to be focusing a bit more on a gentleman who's in the West, Anito Trump, and how certain changes, when he came to power, he was able to implement, and how they were able to affect millions, if not thousands of people right here in our country. What is it about? Our financial expert is going to be telling us more about it. Secondly, we're going to be talking about a money market fund called ZD, and we're going to be asking, how does this affect my money, and how can I be able to have practical steps that I can be able to use even as we conclude this month of April, so that by the time it hits 1st May, Labor Day, tukienda pale tuseme we are the laborers, we are the workers, how can we say that we've been able to make some decent progress when it comes to personal finance? And then last but not least, we're going to be focusing on a world-class money tracker that has been able to be invented by Mwalimu Biashara and by the many trainings that we've been going through, and how this world-class money tracker can be able to help you to boost your finances and help you to have something called wealth generation. Those are the key three areas of this webinar. Okay. And so when we come to Kitoka Hapo, we focus on another thing called the steps, or rather the steps that you walk through when you come at the doors of Mwalimu Biashara. So these steps are not formulated by us, but they've been able to be formulated by the needs and the demands of each and every person and an organization that they normally come on. But this one, they're more focused on personal finance. So allow me to go through them in less than 1 minute for each and every staircase. We have 10 steps. And ideally, these 10 steps are the ones that we say, once you've been able to accomplish them, we can be able to say you have at least the right financial knowledge or literacy that you can be able to make well-defined decisions as you walk your financial journey. Okay, step number 1, we look at your current financial health. As always, people who are in this industry, we have accountants, we have people who are in the agribusiness, we have people who are in the engineering sector. Whenever you're going to solve a problem, you ideally have to understand what is the root cause of the problem. And that's the same thing we talk about when we look at the current financial health. We want to ask ourselves, When you go to the doctor, unamwambianga daktari, I feel by the way, my headache has been aching 2 times or kuanzia jana. I feel like my bones are not in the same way. Hii baridi venye imekuja na hii mvua nilinyeshewa, and I feel as if my body doesn't want to wake up from my bed. And it's the same thing that happens when you come at our doors. The first thing that we have to take into account is, where are your current finances? Are they probably somewhere in the playing ground playing? Because that means that it is quite healthy that they're having a fun time. Or are they maybe in the ICU waiting for that resuscitation for it to happen, to know what is the next step? And then after step number one, we go to step number two, which is your relationship with money. All of us in this particular webinar, we can agree that we have different relationships with different people. The relationships with your spouses, with your family members, with your colleagues at work, with that mama mboga, ule mtu wa boda boda, as our head of state likes to put them. We ask ourselves, when it comes to money, how is your relationship with money? As you can see from my heading there, we normally say at Mwalimu Biashara, money talks. And that is as simple as we like to put it. The question normally is, are you attentive enough, or are you keen enough to listen to your money talking? And the second most important part of that question is, are you willing to talk back to your money? Because that is very important. At Mwalimu Biashara, we believe that you can be able to make practical steps that can make you achieve financial freedom. But in order for that to happen, you have to be able to speak to your money and tell your money, you know what, I want you to go here, I want you to go there. And we're going to be showing you exactly how you can do that with our app. Thirdly, we're talking about forecasting your plans. We are all different here. As you can see, the reason as to why we were telling you to tell us the industry that you're in, and if you've been able to join us for this personal finance webinar, and karibu sana, kindly just go to the chat section and tell us which industry you are in, and tell us the number of years of experience that you've been able to accumulate. The reason as to why we look at the forecasting of your plans is because, as you can see in the chat section, we have different people who are in different industries and they've worked for different number of years. And that's the same thing that applies to your money. We do believe that each and every person, as much as we are different, we have our own personal goals that we want to achieve. We were having a chat with one client sometime last week, and they were telling us that they wanted to invest X amount of money of their business, and they were looking for the best investment vehicle for them to use. For some people who are in the same business, there are some people who are saying, you know what, business this year hasn't been as good as last year. How can I be able to change? Or what can I be able to introduce to my business, or certain things? There's some people who would like to maybe change the education plan for their loved one as we look towards opening the schools next month. There are some of us who want to increase their assets and reduce their liabilities. There are some of us who are looking to maybe include that mortgage, or maybe this is the year umesema huu ni mwaka wako, God akuonekanie upate kamchumba. What does that mean for you? And so, how can we help you to achieve your plans within the certain budgets that you can be able to create? We go to step number 4. Step number 4 is all about debt. And ladies and gents, hapa najua hata if we just take a pause and we talk about debt, if we open our mics, we can even hear the hearts beating in the chest cavity. Why? Because debt is such a heavy topic, not only in our nation, but also in our families and in our pockets. So we want to understand, when you walk in at the doors of Mwalimu Biashara, how can we help you understand debt more? And how can we be able to help you crush debt? There's some people who say we have good debt and bad debt. How can we be able to demystify that? And how can we be able to decode it to ensure that you understand everything that it comes to debt? And then after that, we go to staircase number 5, which is all about savings. And here, my friends, we can talk about the savings culture, or the habits that you can be able to make or can be able to implement intentionally, and for you to be able to be consistent to build something like an emergency fund, which our financial expert is going to be touching about. Savings is such a heavy topic that you cannot be able to talk about investments without you touching on savings. And after we've been able to show you practical steps of how you can be able to start your savings, then we tell you, usikae hapo kwa savings, that is just the starting. How can we now be able to take you to the next step where the wealth is generated, and where we call it the investments? Ladies and gentlemen, this is where Mwalimu Biashara has been able to focus most of its energy on investments. Why? Because we believe we are here to help a generation to grow their wealth. And in order for you to have something called wealth generation, we can talk about the many families that we know of, how they got their wealth. That is it's a topic for another day. But we do understand that when it comes to wealth generation, this is an issue that we have to address. And here we can be able to teach you the pros and the cons of investments. How can you be able to focus on different investment vehicles? How can you be able to start, and not only to start, but how can you be able to switch them from point A to point B as you look to build your investments? And at the same time, as you talk about investments, we cannot negate the fact that we have to look at staircase number 7, which is on risk and returns. Ladies and gents, risk and return is part and parcel ya investments. Ni kama blue band na jam. Whenever when we are having the family meetings and all that, one cannot go without the other, you know? So when you talk about risk and return, we ask you, or rather we come and ask ourselves, when you want to invest in, let's say you want vehicle A, how can that investment help you to have certain returns, and also at the same time, how can you be able to look at that risk so that pesa yako isichomeke? We've seen so many people look at the aviators, look at the data, we look at the betting and all. People are so much pulled on the returns, and we're going to be touching heavily on investments and return a bit on this webinar with our financial expert. But how can you also at the same time, as you're looking to have a return of 100% in maybe the next 1 month, how can you also look at that other side of risk? Because most of the financial experts, or rather most of the financial teachers, they intentionally leave out the part of risk. And then we go to staircase number 8, which is something that we touch upon, called retirement and building investment portfolio. Ladies and gentlemen, at Mwalimu Biashara, we are big advocates for you to be able to live a good lifestyle. Not just good, but a healthy lifestyle, a lifestyle that will help you to grow without kunyanyasa watu, without telling your loved ones, send me that 2K urgently, without you having to stretch so much. Because at the end of the day, we believe that out of the many years that you've worked, if there's something that at least you should have at least an investment portfolio that can take care of you in your retirement years. It is quite sad seeing people going to retirement and maybe they have nothing to show off. That means they have to work extra. That means they'll have to give themselves more. And how does this affect you? And how does this even affect your mindset when it comes to finances? So we look upon that, and you look into how you can be able to have that good lifestyle, not only for you, but also for your loved ones, as you look to balance the scope of all that. And then number 9, as I mentioned, we're going to be looking at the environment of your finances. What are the political, economical, social, technological advancements that can be able to affect your money? Right now, we are seeing a rise in the artificial intelligence. And how does this affect your money? We are being told certain things like chat GPT, itakuwa taxed starting the 1st of May. How does that affect your money? I mean, how does that even affect how you're going to be working? And then we come and put all this together, and we can comfortably and we can certifiably tell you that now you have the adequate knowledge, hata kama si ile the lawyers and all, but you have the sufficient knowledge for you to be able to walk into any room and talk about any of these steps. Ladies and gents, as I said, I'd like this session to be interactive. Maybe you can tell us in the chat section, out of the 10 sections, or rather out of the 10 staircases that you've been able to point, which ones do you feel there are pain points to you, or which one do you feel hapa ndio mimi ndio mkazo yangu iko? You can just put in the numbers, maybe number 2, maybe it's number 3, maybe it's number 6 or number 7, and feel free to put in as many as you want, because at the end of the day, as I said, we are here to focus and see how we can be able to bring out the best in you, and how we can be able to help you to make money, grow your money, and protect your money. So feel free to go to the chat section, kindly put in the numbers that you feel we'd like to concentrate on, and then in the same breath, allow me to pass the baton to our financial expert who can be able to take us to the next session. Mr. Kenon Bai, are you with us?
Yes, Edward, I'm right here with us today. It's great to have all of us in the webinar today. Asante sana for taking us through that first part of the webinar. We're looking in the chat section and we see James Nganga is talking about, please talk to me about number 3, number 7, and number 8. Thank you very much, James Nganga. We appreciate that. Let's see the rest of us. What catches your attention? What is out of the 10 sessions that Edward has talked about? And they're still on your screen right now. Which one do you feel would speak to you the most? Yeah. Which one is the most urgent? Yeah. as personal financial management is concerned, please let us know. Alice Mbogwa comes and tells us, please talk to me about number 6, 7, and 8. That is investments. Talk to me about risk, and talk to me about retirement planning and building an investment portfolio. Asante sana. We are happy to see this. Ordinarily, we ask this so that by the way, we can tweak our presentation to start talking towards these things. Ken is telling us, tell me about number 7 and number 8. I want to know about this thing of risk and return. And I also want to know about planning my retirement. Asante sana there, Ken. We appreciate that. Esther Maruga, interesting. Same as Ken, 7 and 8. So today, 7 and 8 are very, very popular. People want to know about. Tell me about risk. Tell me about planning my retirement. We appreciate that. So for the rest of us, feel free to go to the chat section and complete which part do you feel speaks to you the most. And of course, the reason we ask this is to be able to know how to skew our presentation. It's a very short time that we have here, but we always say if we can throw in one or two remarks or tips based on what we see, then we will do that exactly. Super, super. As you've heard, my name is Kenon Bae. I'll be spending the next hour at most with you. By 8:30, we should be done with this webinar and talking about critical things that are happening in the environment today. Allow me to share my screen right here so that then we are together. So we have done financial training for over, 3 years now. And every time we talk to different people, we've trained them, they've understood. But life goes on. But people tell us, what you taught us last year, August, is very useful. But a lot has changed. I need a refresher. I need to know, so what do I need to do? So it is for that, from that feedback, now we went the direction of what if we pick topical things that are happening in the market and talk to people about those. In this case, we figured out maybe in the Jan Feb there, this whole thing about Trump was big, and it still is big, by the way. We said, what about talking about it? That's why we are here. Safaricom have opened a new money market fund. It's called ZD. What does that mean? Now, what will happen, with your permission, of course, is we will keep having these webinars every month, and we'll be inviting you. Only that next month, we'll not be talking about Trump or ZD. We'll be talking about the topical issue in that month. And of course, we'll be inviting you. If you feel there's something you want us to talk about as you come for the webinar, please come and talk to us about it. So that's the whole plan. So this is one of many. In fact, this is the first that we started this year. Earlier on, we did many webinars, but not like this. And we're hoping this will be useful for you. Super. Let's talk about this thing, Trump. By a stroke of a pen, this guy signs an executive order and the world turns upside down. So if we look at Kenya, if you look at how much you are getting from USAID, roughly speaking, is 60 billion a month, 60 billion 1 year. Of course, if you look at the strategic plan between 2020 and 2025, the number keeps going up and down. But generally speaking, 60 billion, Bob. If the USAID collapses, and much of it has happened, it means 60 billion has been taken away from Kenya. Then you realize it is a huge number. If you look at what it can do for us, it can fund our health sector for 6 months, 5 to 6 months. You can imagine all the hospitals and paying the doctors and paying the nurses and funding pharmacies and research projects and polio, malaria, everything, public health, level 5 hospital, SHIF, all those things that are happening. 6 months. It's a huge number that has a direct impact on people and indirect impact. Direct impact is there are some people actually today who do not have jobs. I know some. We don't pray this for anybody. But imagine you wake up one morning, something happens so far out there, and it changes your financial life. And we'll be focusing about that today. And of course, we know it can happen to any of us. This is not spreading fear or panic. It is picking out what has actually happened in the market and asking, what is our readiness for it? Okay. And of course, it has also an indirect impact. Why? These are our sisters and our brothers that were in the USAID. So they'll come to you and ask for help. Nisaidia Ngiribili, I cross over the month. This is an indirect impact on us. And yes, in our monies, my personal finances, can I afford? Can I budget? What do I need to change? Practical things that are happening today. Of course, there's a lot still happening about the tariff wars. I may not go into that right now, but still, the impact is still being felt. The key takeout is how abruptly this thing happened. When we are having our Christmas, December 2024, I don't think anybody had seen, okay, let me say, most of us had not seen what was coming. We were to wake up in January, maisha iendelee. But hang on, 3 months later, we are talking a completely different story. There are people who are suppliers of USAID, so they're in business. Okay, there are people who are contractors. Okay, there are families that were depending on that. Okay, there are some people whose social circles, even giving and giving to your offering and helping people, it is so complex and huge. Kenon, what are you telling us? That it's important for us to have something called an emergency fund. Anything around planning your financial planning, personal finance, an emergency fund is extremely important. And an emergency fund is asking ourselves, if I lost my income tomorrow, how many months would I survive before I get a new job or my business picks up or things change? Those number of months, ladies and gentlemen, should be 6 months. Of course, I get here, I keep quiet because even for me as Canon, before I put aside my emergency fund, it was a big, big problem because I'm asking myself, how do I even start saving as it is today to start putting money aside for an emergency fund? But the realization of what it would mean for you to have an emergency fund makes us wake up to this fact. And friends, this is one takeout for this webinar. How do you compute your emergency fund? You take your living expenses. How much do you spend per month on your very essential things? My rent, maybe 20,000, 50,000, whatever the number is. My shopping, my electricity, gas, all those things, the very basic things you need. Wachana hata na luxuries. Maybe that figure comes to say 50,000. An emergency fund means you take that 50,000, multiply it by 6 months. That becomes 300,000. And that becomes your emergency fund. Now, there's a way to do it because, of course, as I said, you need to look at your numbers. So where do I start? So you can either start reducing your expenses or increase your income when you can, because you need to start thinking about how do I start building an emergency fund to get to 300,000. So this is a financial fact that we've taught many times. And this is a time I want now to introduce the tool that Edward talked about. We have built a tool. It's called Kibeti. Kibeti is a mobile app by Mwalimu Biashara. Now, let me make a disclaimer. This is optional for you to take. We are not saying that you must do what I'm about to show you, but we are so convinced, given the feedback we've received and the demonstration I'm going to show you just now, I think you might agree with me because we have tailored Kibeti to help you with things like this. Let me show you practically how you set up a plan for an emergency fund and many other things. I'm going to share my screen. I'll also request Edward to put in the chat section the link for those of us who might want to download Kibeti. It's a mobile app. It's by Mwalimu Biashara. So feel free to do that. But let me still share my screen here. Let me just remove this share here. Then I share my screen here so that I can talk about things very, very practically. All right. So I believe you can see my phone. That is my phone. Of course, for me, I've already downloaded it. Kibeti looks like this. Let me go to home. There we go. Excellent. So here is Kibeti, your companion. And let me show you a few features that you can do. Let me just show you this emergency fund I'm talking about. So there are many things you could do, but let's go set a goal. One of the goals you can set for yourself is an emergency fund. So you say, like, example, mine came to 50,000 times 6 is 300,000. So my goal is 300,000. There we go. Now, when you set a financial goal, actually any goal, this goal needs to be smart. It needs to be very specific. It needs to be measurable. It needs to be attainable. It needs to be realistic, and it needs to be time-bound. So let's see what happens here. When I say 300,000, I put a target date and say, is it possible for me to have put in place an emergency fund in the next 1 year? So I'll say by 30th of April next year. You have set what we call a SMART goal. Now, you can look at other goals, of course. You can want to buy a car, upgrade a car, build a house, take a holiday, start a business. Let's talk about take a holiday. So that, let me set 2 goals. Maybe I want to have put aside 25K by the time it is August, because I want to take a holiday in August. There we go. So I've set another goal. Simple. Then you get what you call a plan. Now, this is where Kibeti comes alive, because it tells you if your goal is to have a 300,000 shillings emergency fund by 30th of April 2026, if you want to start saving daily, then please start saving 8 or 9 shillings. If you want to do weekly, 5660, monthly 24,259, and so on and so forth. It is the practicality that for me stands out. You check and say, okay, I can see what's going on, but 24,000 a month, I doubt I can make it. No problem. You can go and edit it and say, let me give myself more time. When you're setting your financial goals, please don't do something that is not attainable, that drains your energy. I know you need to put effort, but the moment it becomes a pain doing it, most probably you will default. You will give up in the middle. So we tell our clients and even for us in the webinar today, do what is achievable. So I can say, let me give myself a little bit more time and let me take it to December 2020. Instead of doing April, let me do December. I get a plan and I tap on it again. Now the figure comes to about 14,000. So with Kibeti, you play around with it like I'm doing. And then finally, of course, there's a place you can print it and say, this is my plan. So that's the first takeout. We are connecting the lesson in the market with a tool that can help you do what I'm putting across. Okay, I'm hoping this is clear. Please feel free to put any question, any comment on the chat or clarification. But I'll continue connecting what we are doing on the webinar today and a tool that you can carry. We'll be having a special offer on it today. But what I'm showing you, ladies and gentlemen, so far is free of charge. You can download and do everything that I've done without having to pay anything. Kenon, so how do you make your money? Exactly. It is because the tool is designed to have a free session, which, by the way, is powerful, is useful, and is effective. But if you want to get what we call the premium version, now you get a small subscription. How much are we talking about? 300 shillings. Shilingi 300 per month. 300 is the cost of a meal or a cup of tea. In some places, can't even buy you a cup of tea. The reason I'm putting it that way is we like promoting, helping people manage their finances in a very, very practical way. So I think I'll end that one here so that I can go to the next item, which is ZD Money Market. Let us go there. Let me actually go back. I stop share here. Then I go share my presentation so that we can proceed on the second item of this webinar. There we go. Let's talk about ZD Money Market. On the chat section, kindly help us. Have you heard about this thing that's on the screen today? Have you heard anything called ZD Money Market? Tell us yes in the chat if you have heard about it. If you've not heard about it, no problem. Just put a no, just to create some engagement in this webinar. Let us see. I have someone who came in. Ken has heard about it. Edward has heard about it. Excellent. Please let us know if you've heard about ZD Money Market. And then we'll be talking a lot about a little bit more about it. Esther Maruga has actually heard about it. So we will be sharing information. If you feel there's something you need to ask or you need to know about it, please let us know. One thing, we are not here to promote the product. No, we are just picking something we feel that has happened in the market that we need to spotlight more about. So what is a money market? Or bigger question, what is a unit trust? Now, a unit trust is a form of an investment. And the way it works is that we pool our money together. So Canon puts 2,000. I see Alice has also heard about it. Thank you very much, Alice, right there. Alice puts 10,000. Edward puts 100,000. A pension firm comes and put 3 billion. So we are all pulling our money together. This money is that we are giving this money to a licensed fund manager because they are professionals in investing. They go invest that money, they make a profit or a return. Then they come back and tell us, okay, of the money you gave us, this is a profit. These are the profits you've made, and we're going to share these profits among all of you who gave us money. So that is the whole concept of a unit trust. So money market is a type of a unit trust. There are other types of a unit trust. It's just that the money market fund is the one that is very, very common. And for good reason, because it's a very good and safe place to start your investment journey. If you've not invested and you're considering investing, please go to a money market fund. It is a good place to start. Of course, we have all lessons and teachings about the details of investments, but for now, it's good to say that you do it that way. However, this is a small part of the bigger story. How does the bigger story look like? The whole idea is there are actually a lot of unit trust existing. It's just that M-Pesa ZD is one of the many. So as you can see, this is an extract of the money market situation in Kenya today. Now, money market funds are regulated by an organization called Capital Markets Authority. These are the ones who regulate. Regulation, what does it mean? It means that these people we're calling CIC and Sanlam and Mansa, NCB, Britain, all the way down, they are under the watch. They need to play within certain rules. They need to do things a certain way. And Capital Markets Authority are the ones who oversee that. That's when you say an investment is regulated. Question, Kenon. So you give us a list of about 30 people, and I want to start a money market fund tomorrow. Which one should I pick? Very common question you get. And that's why we are showing you the criteria. There's something called assets under management. What is this? When you look at CIC Unit Trust Scheme in September 2024, they were managing funds worth 70.3 billion. So people had put their money together and given to CIC to the tune of 70.3 billion. Sanlam, 46.8 billion. Mansa X, 34.2. NCB Unit Trust, 33 billion, and so on and so forth, until you get the total is 316 billion. This is what is called assets under management. How much money are these people? managing. So one criteria we tell people, if you want to look at assets under management, any of the top 10 will work. It's as simple as that. You can always take any of the top 10. Remember, all these are regulated. So as far as that is concerned, that's a good way of looking at it. But people say, not only that, there are other things like financial strength. You look at all these companies to understand who really manages this money. When we say Sanlam, who is Sanlam? Who is behind that 46.8 billion? Who is making decisions about that 46 point? It's an important point. So of course, you look at the whole management structure, you look at who is behind it, and all these people, by the way, there is a story behind all of them. Then you come to customer service. There are places you go and you're treated so well, you might actually decide to take wanafunzi. Wanafunzi looks the lowest. They have 885,000. It's not even a million. But believe it or not, there are people who actually invest with them. Actually, if you look at how they have grown, they had 852,000 in June. So they came to 885. They grew by 3.9%. So it means between June and September, even if it looks like the smallest of them all, there are people who went to them. Why? Could be the customer service you get. So you start asking yourself, how well am I treated? How quickly are my questions answered? How effectively do I feel satisfied? And even the chemistry, what is the culture of the people there? That becomes a decision point. Of course, the other one is return. Everybody wants to know which one is going to give me the most. I understand that. And so for example, that's a very good criteria. Now, by the way, we have our investments masterclass. I know this webinar is free of charge and we're giving you this information freely and we'll continue giving you. But you might want to ask yourself, I want to understand investments. I want to really understand more. What is this about investments? So our investment masterclass happens once a month. The one for April happened yesterday, I think it's 23rd of April. The next one is happening on 21st of May. In that masterclass, we go deep dive in all these investments. And not only unit trust, we tell you all sorts of investments. So if that interests you, please put a note on 21st of May. It will cost you 5,000 shillings. But it's a 5,000 shillings that you've invested well. So we have a session like this where we go through investments. And on top of that, we give you a one-on-one session because, again, practical. One Biashara is about helping you to be very practical. So when we meet on a one-on-one, maybe Alice comes and tells me, this is where I am at Canon. These are my thoughts. This is my age. These are my income streams. This is the size of my family. These are my dreams. Please help me see that I'm on the right track towards investments. So in addition to having just an open class, we give you a one-on-one. It's a good deal to help you. If you really want to understand investments well, please put a note on that. Edward is going to put another the link on the chat. You can copy it and say, after this webinar, let me just go think about it and see if it's something I want to do. But anyway, back to this. The reason I went there is because of this thing called return. Everybody wants to know, how much can I get? But the question is, you can get from unit trust or real estate or cryptocurrency. That's why the class is organized that way. But basically, of course, you check the management fees. How much am I charged? And what's the initial deposit? Most of these schemes, if you have 2,000 shillings, you've already started. It's enough for you to start. Actually, I know the one for Safaricom, you just need 100 shillings. On your M-Pesa, if you go there, 100 shillings and you're in. So of course, as you're choosing, you say, nataka ile ina pesa mingi. So this, and I think even Zemele, unit trust, I think with 100 shillings, you're in. It is a flexibility that comes with it that we thought to show you. It is not just a small thing happening in the market. Our view, it is possible the ZD money market from Safaricom will really grow. I saw the return they're giving is approximately 7%. But I know other people are giving more than Safaricom, but that's for another day. I have a slide, by the way, to show you how much you can make from every investment. But talking about it, let's see, take a very simple test. Let's go to the chat section. Now think about you getting 1,000,000 shillings. And these 1,000,000 shillings is a gift. That is to say, you're not meant to repay anybody. Tumia venye unataka. However, use it on investments only. What investments would you put with 1,000,000 shillings? Please let us see your responses or comments on the chat section. Remember, you're not paying any debt. You're not paying any school fees. Hizo zote umelipa. You're not buying a car. That one you have. It's just an investment. Let's see. Maybe 1 or 2 answers in the chat will be good enough just for us to keep it interactive. What would you do with 1,000,000 shillings? Nitaweka wapi? Nitainvest wapi, Canon? That's the question you're asking you. Please give us your responses on the chat. We encourage you to say as it is. There is no right answer. We are not looking for a perfect answer. No. I want us to see. Ken says, is very clear. I will venture in agribusiness. I'll put that 1,000,000 shillings in agribusiness. Asante sana, Ken, for doing that. Edward comes in, and Edward has broken his 1,000,000 shillings in a certain way. He says that he'll put 500,000 in Mansa X. He will put 200,000 in an emergency fund. He will put another 200,000 in a SACCO, and 100,000 invest in himself. Wonderful. Thank you, Edward. Let me point on that number 4, invest in myself. Investing in yourself has been researched to be the best paying investment. And investing in yourself does not necessarily mean another degree if that degree is not going to align with you getting more money. But the more you make yourself a better person in whatever area, the returns are extremely high. Simple. I've known friends, even myself. There's a time I really wanted to take my MBA, and I was challenging myself for what? Whatever amount I spent in my MBA, after I finished, in a span of 2 years, I had doubled my salary. Of course, I was in employment. I had doubled my salary because, of course, that was a version of me investing in myself. And even you guys, you have something that makes you better because your input can really be rewarded. I think I thought to highlight that from Edward. Super. Esther Maruga would put it in treasury bonds. I understand that, Esther. Asante sana. So the rest of us, please feel free. Go to the chat section. Stretch your mind around investments. It could also be an investment you've been thinking about. I wish I was able to understand how rates work. Please put it in the chat. We should be able to help you. James Nganga has come in. Invest 500,000 to the business, 250,000 in SACCO shares. I like that. 100,000 shillings in MMF account and 150,000 in a revolving fund. Excellent. Thank you very much, James. James's response is almost the same as Edward's because they're building what we call an investment portfolio. They're not putting money mahali moja, kidogo hapa, kidogo hapa, kidogo hapa. Good news. I'll be showing you today a few ideas on how to build an investment portfolio. But let's proceed. I've not closed you out. My eyes will be on the chat. If you have something you want to add, I'll be looking out for it. Talking about something to add, Alice has said, set up a fast food. Alice wants to go into business. Just like Ken. Ken is doing an agribusiness. And Alice is taking up a fast food. I see also James has something about a business. Yes. Good. Asanteni sana. Let me show you the places you can put your money in Kenya today. This is out of the research we've done as Mwalimu Biashara. We've gone out there and asked ourselves, where can I put money today in Kenya? And this is it. So the first thing is that this is an investment return. It's indicative. Indicative means it is an approximation. It is to say that it is a safe range you can work with. It doesn't mean you cannot get more, but it's a good place for you to start. Let's see, when you say bank deposits are giving you 2 to 4%, what do we mean? How do you read this table? It means that if you put 100 shillings in a bank at the beginning of the year and you let it stay there for 12 months, it doesn't have to be beginning of the year. As long as the money has been there for 1 year, it's 100 shillings. At the end of that 1 year, you get an extra 2 shillings or 4 shillings. That's what it means that my return is 2%. Of course, I've seen even in billboards, I know there are banks who are saying 11%, 12%, actually 11, 8% around there. That's what I'm saying. We are not saying it must be 2 to 4%. But as you walk out of this webinar and you want to get a rough indicator, these are good numbers to use. Of course, the 11%, sometimes it comes with conditions. It needs to be fixed deposit. It needs to be a huge amount of money. So, of course, there are variations. I saw someone say they'll put their money in a circle. You put your money in a circle so that you can get dividends. They average between 5 and 10%. Real estate, the people want to go into real estate, kununua mashamba na kuuza, ama you want to build your own house, or you want to build rentals, or you want to, buy, cut up into pieces and sell, or buy and keep it as it is, then sell it as a block. All that is real estate, including something called rates. Then you get between 7 and 20%. Of course, it is that wide because of all these things I'm saying attract different returns. We just did unit trust. I think I've gone through that. You get between 7 and 9%. I saw someone talk about treasury bonds. Excellent. That will give you between 9 and 12%. What are treasury bonds, Kenon? In simple terms, you're lending your money to the government. The government will pay you your money back with interest on top. That interest is between 9 and 12%. Of course, there are all sorts of treasury bonds. We talk about infrastructure bonds and fixed income bonds and treasury bills. That's why we're giving a range. By the way, I know in Kenya, this figure was quite high some time back. It was even going to 16% or 17%, but it kept coming down to roughly to 9 to 12%. Listed shares, I didn't see that in the responses, but you can decide, I want to go buy shares in the stock market. I want to go buy shares in Nairobi Stock Exchange. Okay, then what will I get? You'll get between 5 and 15%, depending on how well that company does. Of course, it's a very wide range. Which counter did you buy? How did it perform? What is the state of the economy? Actually, shares are is a rather technical area, which needs a little bit more of thinking. It's a more long-term thing, but it will give you between 5 and 50%. Ken, I've seen your question on the chat. I'm coming to that in a short while. Multi-asset global fund. This is the same as unit trust. Only your money is invested outside this country. When you see in the list that I put up there, you must have seen Mansa X's. They've really, really done a good job of publicity. You probably might have heard about them. And there are so many others, by the way. But those are the people who are called multi-asset global fund. I saw, and I think this is the webinar I've seen, most people are talking about a business, agribusiness, food business. There's someone who talked about business, even if he didn't have a name, but that's an investment. You can actually make between 30 and 100%. Very lucrative, okay? But also let me draw your attention to the last column about regulation, and I think it's part of what Ken is asking. Ken, before I answer your question, let me explain what it means when you say an investment is regulated. It means that the government of the day has put in structures and systems on how that class of investment needs to be managed. So if it is a bank, central bank watches over what all the other banks do. You cannot wake up one morning, a bank cannot wake up one morning and decide to do whatever they want. They are regulated, there are rules, they make returns, right, to the government. SASRA will regulate SACCOs. I know in the month of March, around there's something going on about SACCO officials who have mismanaged the whole SACCO movement. I know it's been in the news. Some of the things we can speak about in the coming webinars, but nonetheless, it's regulated. Now, real estate is not regulated. That is to say, if I wanted to go buy a piece of land today or build my own house, yes, I'm bound by a contract. But there's nothing guiding that my piece of land in Syokimau is 7 million. It is just market forces. And if you can give me 9, I will take. That's the idea. It is a willing buyer, willing seller, but there's no regulation that says things have to be done this way, that I cannot sell my 10 acres of land at once. That's what it means. It does not mean you lose your money, but it means that there's no extra regulation in that sense. Let me go to Ken's question because now it's very relevant. He says, a query on real estate, are some not regulated like VUCA, or those are not part of real estate? So you're asking about VUCA. Ken, I'll be straight up with you. I've seen VUCA in the market, but truth is I have not immersed myself in it, Ken. So I may not be able to give you a very, very accurate answer about VUCA, but I promise I'll take that as a note here. I'll go also educate myself on it so I can be able to give you a safe answer. But Ken, the best thing to do, even with VUCA guys, because they're already in the market, just send them an email or call them and say, by the way, is this investment regulated? And who regulates it? They should be able to tell you. And any regulated business, like for example, I've shown you the list of unit trust. You go to a very independent place and say, if you're regulated, by who? They'll tell you by Capital Markets Authority or whatever it is, then you can go and check it. Maybe Ken, that's how to deal with that. But right now, truth is I don't have a very firm and clear answer to give you about VUCA. Ken, I'm hoping that helps you right there. Okay. Forex trading. You can go into Forex trading. What does that mean? It is buying and selling of currencies. It is huge. It is complicated. It is very risky. And that will be taking you to the next slide. That's Forex trading. Cryptocurrency, blockchain. It is getting involved in blockchain. There are many ways of doing it. And people are making money. That 50%, 150% I've seen there. So the question becomes, Canon, from what you're showing me here, why don't I take all my money and put in Forex? In any case, you're already showing us I can get 150. Why am I so worried about 7%, 9%? I just go to crypto because of something called risk. And I think Edward alluded that in the introduction of the topics. And even actually the responses you got today, there was a lot of us who was asking number 7, number 8. Number 7 is about risk. So in the next slide, in a nutshell, the way to work it out, these are the same investments that I've talked about: cash deposit, treasury bills, unit trust, all the way up. You notice as they go up the scale, the return is increasing. The ones that are top there, the return is very high. But one thing that people forget is the risk. As much as you're getting high return, the risk is high. Okay, so in creating an investor's mind, we are human beings. We all want good news. We all want to know, I want to make money, I want to grow my money. All of us want that. But when we start thinking about what can actually go wrong, that's not very good news. And we've seen in our experience, it's not very common people want to venture there. But it's one of the most important things that you do risk and return. That's why now I bring the issue of an investment portfolio. Remember, I was talking about that. Generally speaking, the ones that we have circled up there, these are the high risk, high return investments: blockchain, venture capital, alternative investment. That is now when you want to do your business, when you do Forex trading. Those are the high risk. We tell people, identify the percentage of your investments that should go there. Look at the million shillings you're talking about earlier. You could say nothing more than 20% should go there. So even if you're doing your business or you're doing this, you have a way of saying nothing more than 20%. Sometimes you can push it to 30, depending on your own circumstances. Okay. Then below here, the cash, the treasury bills, they are low risk, low return. Your money is relatively safe, but it will grow very slowly. So again, you say maybe 30%. Then the balance, you put it in the middle and say, I want to put in the middle of risk and return. This is what is called creating an investment portfolio. And this is a formula to investing. Now, again, I want to take you to Kibeti. Why am I taking you there? Because we have automated everything I've shown you. In terms of, so Ken, you're telling me 7%, this 9%, I'm confused. I've lost track. And then you're telling me these ones are more risky than this other. So you've taken that and automated. Let me take you there again and show you how to deal with investments. Remember, today we are showing you a way that you can apply what you're learning. And by the way, people ask us, how different are you, Mwalimu Biashara? With all humility, guys, but with a lot of confidence. What makes us different is because we make it practical for you and we give you something you can carry home. As I said, this is a free tool so far on this, but let me show you again on the investments. There we go. So I've just done goals. So the other thing you could do is investments. Let's look at that. Now, you could be an investor who has a regular income. Maybe you have a salary. So you can say, I can put aside 2,000 a month or 5,000 a month or 20,000 a month. So for you, you might want to take a one-year investment plan. Or it could be having a lump sum. Maybe you're in business. You've done a very good deal and you got a lump sum. Or even if you're employed, you probably have gotten a bonus, a 13th check. So you have a lump sum. How do you invest it? Or you maybe sold an asset, maybe you've some land, or so you have a lump sum amount. So either way, you are able to use any of these. But for the interest of time, let me take someone who has a salary. So they are saying, I want to invest pole pole. Now, these investments here are the same ones I was talking about in my presentation. We've brought them here with all those rates embedded to help you make a quick decision. So let's say you want to create a scenario. I want to do money market funds and I want to put 2,000 shillings every month. Okay. Then I want to maybe compare that with, say, a rate. But Canon, what is a rate? So within Kibeti, what we've done is by clicking this information button, we give you in a nutshell, what is a rate? It is placing your money in a pool that is managed by a professional fund manager to develop properties. I understand. Let me say I also put 2,000 shillings every month. So it's only 4,000. I've invested 4,000. Maybe let's say I want to do a small business, but let me say there's someone who wants to do agribusiness, there's someone who wants to do a fast food, but let's keep it simple, maybe 100,000. Okay. How much can I make? Kibeti enables you to compare the returns you're going to get from each. Of course, you can see the red one, which is a business. It's a lot of money. I've put 100,000 and I can see the return, the one below there. I'm going to get approximately 333 shillings a month. We've taken those returns, I was saying between 30 and 100%. We've applied a risk factor because businesses can fail. The risk of a business, remember what I said, the risk of a business compared to the risk of a money market is different. So within Kibeti, we've already embedded that kind of risk thinking. It is giving you a snapshot of creating an investment portfolio. So ladies and gentlemen, we are proud to show you this. Why? Because we have seen and gotten feedback from clients. How can I do it? And this is it for you. All this I'm showing you is free of charge. But you might say, I want to invest the 300 shillings. Why cannot? Because now you go to the next step and say, I want to personalize my investments. Of course, today we are 9 of us in this webinar, but we are all different ages. So you could say, me, I'm a 30-year-old or a 50-year-old or a 40-year-old. Now you're getting to personalize your things. Next question. This is called your risk appetite. But if we call it a risk appetite, we intend to simplify those complex things into very simple questions. And the question is, I am ready to try an investment that gives me a good return, even if the risk is high. I never, never, never. So you pick never because that is what springs from you. Now, there's nothing wrong with you. You're just a different kind of an investor. Someone would say sometimes, someone will say rarely. So you're picking what works for you. So we are personalizing your investment. And by the way, at the end of these two more steps, Kibeti will be showing you a recommendation. What then can I invest in? Because you're telling us there are 20 of them. Which one? Now, this part helps you personalize this. Next question. How would you feel if your investments lost 20% of their value in a short period of time? I would feel very uncomfortable. I won't sleep. In fact, I will sell everything because I don't want to incur further losses. This is called your risk tolerance. But it's in a very simple question. Some of us will say, I'll be neutral. I will just sit on the fence. I will hold on my investments, but I'll be jittery if the market will recover. Now you're describing your risk tolerance. Now people ask me, is investment a matter of feeling? Because you're saying, how do you feel? Is it a feeling? The answer is yes. There is a bit of investing that's about your emotion. So Kibeti is taking care of that in time to show you if you're a person who's very comfortable in such cases, how then can we recommend some investments for you? Maybe the last question, let me pick comfortable, doesn't matter. What is your experience as an investor? The people say, I have never invested. Kenon, I want to start. I don't know where to start. So let's say you've never invested, or you are a beginner, intermediate, etc. Let's say I'm a beginner. Then Kibeti recommends to you the investments you can consider. And this is now why you're paying, because now this is very personal. So for Kenon, you can try these investments straight up because of your age, because of your risk appetite, your risk profile, and your experience as an investor. So you can try money market, fixed income, etc. Now, these other sets, these ones you need to speak to a financial coach. Mwalimu Biashara is a financial coach. We invite you, please speak to us. By the way, if you click on contact now, this message will come directly to us. Okay, you can do that, or you can choose any other coach of your choice. Okay, but the thing we are telling you is before you go to balance fund and equity fund and treasury bills and commercial paper, please consult. There are some that are not matching your profile. Residential properties and annuities, they don't match your profile. In that, given your age, given your profile, given everything, focus on other things. Okay, and of course it keeps going on. So let's change something here. Maybe let me say I've never invested. When I recommend there, then the whole recommendation changes. If I've never invested at that age, the only thing that I can go tomorrow and try is a money market fund. And by the way, if I wanted to invest right away, if you click on invest now, we have partnered with some of those people I showed you. Okay, you can straight up go invest. Of course, we are creating this list pole. But if you want to invest, you can go ahead and invest. Now, let me say this. You are not investing in Mwalimu Biashara. In fact, you're not giving Mwalimu Biashara your money. We are not licensed to take clients' money. You're not a fund manager. We are licensed to be a finance trainer. And that's what we're showing you. So if you hit Sanlam or Pritam, then we are directing you to their website. Then you go invest with them. Okay, I wanted to make that one clear. But you can see quickly what the whole investment is. So this thing I've been teaching this evening, this is how you apply it. Now, I'm hoping you're seeing the connection between learning what's happening in the market and doing something about it. We are big. You've given us your time. You've logged into this webinar. 1.5 hours is very expensive. We want to see if we can help you take something with you today. And the something we're giving you today is Kibeti. If you choose to take it and not pay the subscription, again, there's a lot of value you can get. If you choose to subscribe, there's loads and loads you can get. Let me show you one more thing in Kibeti before I go and finish the webinar. It's about budgeting, because we've had so many times people ask us about budgeting. So you can still go create a budget. Again, you can create your budget automatically or manually. You can try these things on your own, but let me take the automatic one. I am a 40-year-old. My total income, say 80,000 shillings a month. Kibeti is able to generate for you a budget, a recommended budget. What is the best way for a 40-year-old who's making 80,000 shillings every month to use their money? Of course, you generate their budget, and there you are. Please start saving 4,000 shillings out of your 80,000. If you choose to invest, target to invest 12,000. Day to day is 20,000. This is your rent. This is your steamer. The ones I was talking about, you remember the emergency fund? 20,000. Then people ask me, can someone really survive on this kind of money in Nairobi? So the thing is, this is a recommendation based on your income. Okay. Now, mobility, moving around, whether it is your take a matatu or take a taxi, however you move around, 3,200. Faith and giving, 8,800. Now, whatever faith it is, we respect. But this giving also touches what we call black tax. There is a person who calls you, nisaidie hii, nisaidie that, and I'm a victim of that. Now, we tell you, please budget for it. Let it not be at the whim because they called, so it is 5,000. And by the way, when you go through our financial training, we take you through what are the practical aspects of dealing with black tax, because these are very sensitive relationships. So Kenon, you're telling me to budget 5,000. Alafu napigiwa na shosho, alafu napigiwa na madhe, alafu si brother mdogo. What do you want me to do? Those are some of the things we train you in our practical classes in financial management. But I want to go to self. You can spend money on yourself. This is huge. Please have a part of your budget to spoil yourself or to enjoy. Because psychologically, in money psychology, if you don't have a limit on what you spend on yourself, you will overspend. I can tell you for free. Because what happens is human beings, we rationalize. We tell ourselves, ni mimi ndio nimetafuta hizi pesa. Wacha nirudishie muli asanti, and so on and so forth. It's natural, I do it myself, but you need to put a budget for it. So if the budget is 3,200, I know it's 3,200, but I will blow that 3,200. Actually, by the way, again, from money psychology, there's a part of budgeting which needs to be a happy process. If it is a sad process where you say, how come natafutia watu wengine pesa mimi I'm not looking for. If that happens, it becomes a sad process. Then it becomes counterproductive. So actually, it's very conscious that you put something aside for yourself. If you're paying a loan, nothing more than 8,000. If you're paying a loan of more than 8,000 and you're earning 80,000, there is a problem. Of course, we know that things don't just happen overnight. This is a guide. Okay, from this guide, you can say, let me start building my life towards getting into those parameters. Of course, protection is your insurance and life insurance or car insurance. Dependents, those blessed with children, then you're talking about 16,000. That's for their school fees and for their ice cream and all those things that you do. And then other outflows. You're walking away with a product that you can take a budget on the spot. Of course, you can make changes before you save. You could say, hapa kwa loan, naona ni kama 14,000. So of course you can make changes and then you save your budget. Now, of course you can tell us what your feedback was. You'll get a budget. The PDF should show up. Now, that is free of charge. For the same 300 I was talking about, what more can you get? Because budgeting is one thing that's free. You can budget, you can print, and this, but what about tracking it? All right. I think I see, is it a question I see there? Yes, Edward?
Yes, sorry, just a question. And I think maybe it's something maybe the audience can also maybe inquire. As you're talking about you remember the emergency fund, the one that you said you should have set aside something for around 6 months. Now, basing on the budget that Kibeti has automated for us.
Yes.
So which one should you take as the funding for creating the emergency fund?
It is the savings. You see,
Okay.
it started by a savings. That savings part, that 4,000, that's what you start building your emergency fund with. That's a wonderful question, Edward, there. But practically speaking, that's the part you start building your emergency fund right there.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, it's good to connect those two. Yeah, I see I have only 9 minutes to go, which is enough for me to show you something else. So Kibeti is also designed to help you track your budget. So, of course, with your permission, the way it works is then Kibeti is able to interface your M-Pesa spending, your bank spending, and it brings here for you. All I need to say is that I spend this 810. What was I spending it on? So I say, this one, I was paying a taxi. So it is mobility. So what Kibeti does, it will compare your budget for mobility, maybe was what, I think it was 3,200. It will go and reduce this 810 and show you how much you have left. This is now what you're paying for, that you're tracking the budget you've created. So creating the budget is free. You can download and create, but you can see the extra 300 shillings we're asking you to consider is because it gives you very good value. And now the other thing, it has an AI function that if I say that George Kinyanjui was mobility, any time I spend on George Kinyanjui, I don't have to keep allocating. It will take it to mobility. If I go to Naivas today and I shop, so you usually get that message from M-Pesa, you've paid, etc. So Kibet will take that message. It will read, oh, this Naivas, it's a supermarket, shopping. If you go fuel a car in a Shell petrol station, whatever, it takes that, it says, this one most probably looks like mobility. Of course, you have the chance to change. But the idea or the vision around what we are showing you today is to give you a finance expert in your pocket. By the way, I'm a finance guy. I've practiced finance for over 20 years. I have worked in various organizations. I've been a CFO in major organizations, some of them international. And by the way, I'm saying, guys, this with humility. But it's important you see why we are doing what we are doing. About 3.5 years ago, I quit my job and I started Mwalimu Biashara. And part of the reason is realizing how organizations manage their money. I was managing huge portfolios and making big decisions and asked myself, what if I took all this knowledge and explained to the world? My world today is made up of the 9 people in this webinar. As long as you can pick something, because the thinking around Kibeti comes with a whole CFO thought. How do you manage funds? And then you do it in such a way that you don't have to get a CPA and do all those sorts of things. I'm hoping you can see that as it were. So I think that's about it. Purposes of Kibeti and purposes of demonstrating to you how you can carry something with you today. Please feel free and consider downloading it and using it. Let me finalize this webinar. I think I don't have a lot of time, so let me take you to, I've already done the demo for you. This offer, today we are telling you because you spend your time here. If you pay that 300 shillings, we'll give you 1 extra month for free. Okay, it's our way of telling you thank you for your time. And if you choose to invest, then we also want to make your journey better. Everybody is going to put this pay bill number on the screen. And I'm going to do something that I always do in webinars. I'm going to stop and give you an opportunity to pay this 300. It's not coercion. It is an opportunity. I want to stop and consciously do it. We don't shy away from selling Kibeti or selling our services. But if you feel it is something that you want to consider, I will hold on. So put the M-Pesa, pay bill is that 1410-1527. On the account name, on the account, put your name. The amount is 300. It will read your financial partners. That's our trading name. But let me pause and give that opportunity before I close. If you have any question, comment, please feel free to put in the chat section. we should be able to respond to you. Right, I see Edward has put it on the chat also. If you want to do it later, copy those details, pack them somewhere, as long as you can make your payment in the next 24 hours or maybe 48 hours. Or if you seriously feel you want to consider this, but later, take the details. We should be able to still extend this offer to you. Right? Is that a question I'm seeing there? Okay, Alice is saying very educative. Appreciate that. So now, thank you very much. So let's now conclude with the Kibeti community concept. We'll be calling you again next month. What are you calling you to do is to continue this conversation. But by the time you come, tafadhali, if you have never invested, consider opening an unit trust of your choice and put at least a small amount and say, this is towards my emergency fund. Number 2, please start tracking your spending. Okay, you can use whatever tool. Kibet is a wonderful one. But the idea is, can you save at least 10% of your expenses or 5%? And number 3, please identify a second source of income. I'm happy today. I think the responses we saw in the chat around how you can use your million shillings, there are very good ideas happening there. But identify, even if you don't start, we can always have this discussion moving on. All right. So again, this is how we work. We have many things we do. We've talked about Kibeti, 300 shillings a month. I've talked about the investment masterclass. It's 5,000 shillings where we go deep down on all investments. But we also have a full class. See those 10 steps that Edward took us through? That is our course curriculum. By that course curriculum is certified by the government. We are certified by NITA as trainers. So it is a well thought out curriculum that we go through those 10 lessons in a period of 10 weeks. We meet once a week. And in those classes, not only do you get those classes, you get 4 sessions of a one-on-one with me and ask me any sort of question. It costs you 45,000 shillings if you're over 30 years. It costs you 20 shillings if you're below 30 years. I always get this question, why is there a difference based on age? It's because at 30 years and above, you're probably dealing with bigger investment and money decisions. At below 30, mostly you're starting off. Now, of course, it could overlap. You could get a 29-year-old who's buying houses, no problem. But it's a way of quickly segmenting to help people at different levels. This amount can be paid in installments. You don't have to pay the full amount. If you want to plan for it, there's a class coming up. I think it's in June and July, if I'm not wrong. But we can share with this information. You can start planning for it using the same pay bill number. Put your deposit. Say, I've put my deposit for my class and I'm interested in this. We should be able to help you. Lastly, we do what we call group trainings. We come to your organization. If you feel this can help your organization, please give us the number of your HR person. We should be able to speak to them. We've done this to many people. And we do these talks one afternoon and we give people a well-packaged thing around financial management. Or it could be a circle or chama or your family or your church. By the way, go to our website, mwalimubiashara.com. You'll get to see the kind of work we've done so we are able to come in. It costs between 10,000 to 50,000 depending on very many things, size of the group, the budget, the technicality, etc. But we are asking you to help us engage. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it. I will hand it over to Edward, who will help us close this webinar, but not before telling you asanteni sana. By investing in 1.5 hours in Mwalimu Biashara, we are hoping it added something in your financial life. And we believe it's a journey that we can keep taking together as we move on. These are the details of the investment masterclass. This is the one I was talking about happened. So you notice we go to the nitty-gritties. We don't just say unit trust. We say, what are unit trusts earning? And which one can I consider? But this is what has already happened. I think I'll stop there, which is about 8:30 on the dot. Asanteni sana. Have a good one. Back to you, Edward, to help us conclude. But I'll stay on to take any questions or concerns that we might have right there. Over to you, Edward.
Okay, thank you so much, our financial trainer, Kenon Bai. We thank you for this amazing opportunity and also for enlightening us. For me, it's always a new session. It's always like getting this information afresh. And as you said, there are practical steps, guys, that you can be able to have. Kindly download the app and just see how it can be beneficial to you. You can give us your feedback, or also we do value that most importantly via our customer care details 0746 380 You can write that down and I can also share that on the chat section as well. And feel free to be able to reach out to us. And as we said, personal finances is a journey, guys. So feel free to reach out to us. And in whichever journey that we are in, we need friends, we need people who can show us the way. And at Mwalimu Biashara, we're here to help you, show you that way to get into that wealth, that financial freedom space. So asante sana Alice Mbugwa. Thank you Enoch who was able to join us as we are proceeding. Esther Maruga, thank you. James Nganga, asante sana. Ken too, asante sana. And Victoria, asanteni sana. You guys, you are amazing. We pray that you'll continue being amazing and feel free to reach out to us and we will be there to help you along the way. You can reach out to us on our social media channels and you can visit us at CMS Africa, Chania Avenue, pale Kilimani. Asanteni sana. Have yourselves a lovely night. Enjoy your weekend and do remember to have a budget that can take you through all through the weekend. Asanteni sana. Have a good one. You can feel free to unmute your mic. Sema asante yako ukielekea with the night. Asanteni sana.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Esther. Have a good night too.
Thank you. Nice.
All right. Thank you, Alice. Have a good night too. Asante sana. That was a very good and informative presentation. Victoria, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Victoria. Have yourselves an amazing night. Feel free to reach out to us.